So, Lee, in this bit of political spotlight, I always would like to find out more about you, because you're quite new to the political scene. A lot of people won't have, they will have heard of you, but they might not know much about you. So what is it that made you get into politics?
Well, that's a simple answer to that one, Nana. I was a Labour councillor, as you know, many years ago, and I did that because I was working for a Labour MP who had recruited me from the local Citizens Advice Bureau. So I took that experience from the Citizen Advice Bureau to work for a Member of Parliament, because I was in the Labour Party at the time, as many people know. And that sort of put me on that political journey. So going from being an advisor in the CAB to 10 years later being a Member of Parliament for Ashfield. So that was pretty much it. But one of the road to Damascus moments, I think, in becoming an MP was when I was in a Labour group meeting in 2018, and one of the Labour members asked me if I'd ever read the works of Karl Marx. And I said, no, I've not. And they said, well, go and join the Tory party then. We don't want you. So I did. And then within 18 months, I was his MP. So great career advice again from the Labour Party.
But if you hadn't gone into politics, what do you think you would have been doing?
Well, when I left the CAB, whilst I was still at the CAB, I did a bit of weekend work working with young care leavers. These are young people that have been through the care system, either foster care or a care home. And we then put them into like a hostel, or a halfway house, really, and then hopefully support them for a couple of years, get them equipped with the life skills that they needed to live independently, and then move them on into independent living. I sort of loved that job. I really enjoyed that job, and I think if politics wouldn't have got in the way, that would have been something that I did, work with young people, homeless young people.
No, I love your comments this week to Mark Rowley, because I think it's important that, because the police these days, people have lost a lot of respect for them. What's your thoughts on the whole situation, especially with people like Just Stop Oil, these protesters, and the way the situation is currently being managed?
Well, I think we're far too soft on them, Nana, and it got a little bit heated, I think, on Wednesday morning in the Home Affairs Select Committee with me and the Commissioner. I didn't want it to get heated, but what went before that, some of the answers or non-answers he gave actually wound me up a lot. He wasn't holding his hands up. He wasn't admitting things that we know happens. And I actually thought that he treated us with a little bit of contempt in that committee. He thought he treated us like idiots. And I think, when the top cop comes, you need to give him a good grilling. But funnily enough, on that morning, there was protests again outside Parliament. These eco warriors were just being nuisances, blocking the traffic. But after the grilling, the day after, hey presto, guess what? They moved them on. So sometimes a bit of tough love works.
It seems sometimes the police are a little bit soft on it. I remember one time when they were offering, if you need to go to the toilet, or if you need to do anything, it was like, what? Get them off there. It's terrible. Lee, now, your view, because, you're known to be quite a strong character, and you seem to get yourself into sort of situations which aren't always your fault, I have to admit. And I was with you this week when Andrew had a conversation with us. What was your thoughts on that?
Well, it's a bit of a mixed bag, really, now. I think when you're out with friends having a meal, you're entitled to think that you're actually in a safe space where you can have that uninterrupted, catch up with friends, have a good chat and that, and a drink, and then go and, do whatever you've got to do for the rest of the day. But when somebody comes up to you, when you're with your friends and you are having a nice time and starts, arguing and pointing the finger, I think you cross the line when you do that, We argue and debate in the chamber and in private, but to do it in public and provoke a confrontation, totally unacceptable. I understand Andrew's got a lot on his plate, but in public is not the place to do it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. And we'll leave that one there. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about was your upbringing, because a lot of people think that it's quite, what was it like for you growing up? Because whereabout were you born? What was your life like before you got...
Well, it was great. I was born in Ashfield, so I've never lived really more than 5 miles from where I was born. We lived in a 2-up, 2-down terraced house, an attic bedroom for my sisters. My dad was a coal miner. My mother was a factory worker. When people go on about poverty, they in this day and age, it doesn't exist like it did when I was growing up. We had a long garden full of vegetables. That was our food bank. At the bottom of the garden, we had chickens and ducks and rabbits. That was part of our food bank as well. My mum and dad worked incredibly hard. They didn't have much money. When they gave us our dinner money on a Monday morning, that was it. They were skint for the week, and we just lived week to week, and that's how people lived. We didn't think we was poor or impoverished. That was normal for us. But now we live in a social media age where people's comparing things, saying we've not had this money come through, whatever. I mean, to my parents, that was alien. They just thought, and rightly so, I think, that I've got, there's 3 kids in the house, there's 5 of us. It's our responsibility to look after our family. And that's what they did. And they did it very, very well on a meagre budget. And so, yeah, I mean, we didn't have an inside toilet in our first house. We had to go down the garden for it. And, the radiators, double glazing, anything like that. And my parents really had to work hard to make ends meet. So, when I talk about this in the chamber, the left may scoff and sneer at me, but I'm talking from a position of strength because I've been there, I've done it, I've been that person. It makes you a better person, Nana.
Well, I think we prefer our politicians to have been through things, and especially if you've had to work very hard. A lot of people do get these positions more easily than others, but it does show that you are really relatable to the normal person. I relate to the things you're saying. I think you're very direct, which I prefer people being direct and telling me the truth to my face rather than behind my back. So I think a lot of people appreciate that. And very quickly, Lee, your thoughts on the whole thing with Boris and the chair of the BBC. Do you think he should have gone?
Yeah, I do, Nana, to be honest. He should have gone. He sort of he's been very foolish. He's dug his own grave. You know my thoughts on the BBC, full stop. I mean, I want the old BBC gone. I think it's the only only service, should I say, in this country where you are forced to pay for it, even if you don't use it. I think it should go. I think it should be a subscription service. And then we'll see these people like Lineker and Co. See what sort of comments they make once the public are actually have the choice whether or not to pay for it. So, from top to bottom, I think there's some great people in the BBC now, and they're doing some great programmes. But at the moment, they appear as the official opposition. And when you've got people doing dodgy stuff, they've got to go.